So I was flipping through my sketchbook, taking a look at some of my older artwork, when I stumbled upon this one sketch that I started but never really finished. So I decided to finish it. And by finish, I mean completely erase it. Yeah, if past me wasn't going to finish it, then present me didn't want to finish it either. So I went back to square one with the sketching and moved on from there. And the thing that I was drawing, or at least attempting to draw, was a tugboat. And they quite literally tug the larger boats to dock, since a lot of the larger ships are so huge that they can't steer themselves as well into the dock. So I was trying to look up references of the tugboat and drawing it in side view this time, because I drew it originally at a very weird angle and drew it with a lot of what was meant to be tires, but a lot of the references I found didn't actually have tugboats with tires. So that was interesting. So I added a lot of the details that tugboats actually had in common with each other, like the fence, the windows, the pipes, the protective barrier at the front, and was just trying to make it look as tugboaty as possible. And I'm kind of glad I did this exercise now, even if I didn't do it back when I originally drew it, because it kind of got me out of that just drawing characters mode, because I draw characters all the time. So it's kind of good to get out of that comfort zone every once in a while. And now that we're done with the sketching, let's start with the line art. So now I'm just flipping the sketchbook back, starting with the line art. And I've actually seen tugboats a couple of times. So I think that's what originally inspired me to draw a tugboat, was that I've actually seen these in person. And they were really cool, so I wanted to draw one, but then never finished it, so now we're starting it here. And this line art, I kind of rushed. I didn't need to, but I did. And it's really noticeable with the windows, unfortunately. You can kind of see that some of them are a little tilty, a little slanted. Some of them are at completely different heights with each other. You know, it is what it is. It's my first attempt at drawing a tugboat. And, you know, it's not that bad for a first attempt, but it's still a little slanted. So after that, I just went to the very last few details and erased the entire thing. I did decide to keep the background lineless, so I tried not to erase that until I got to the background, so that way I'd know what I was thinking for the background once I get there. And for the coloring, I started off with the grays, anything that was more neutrally colored, or at least grayscale, because those I knew for sure I wanted colored that way. And for the protective barrier at the front, I accidentally colored the shading with a lighter marker, so I covered it up with a blue-gray. And honestly, it looked really nice having the really dark blue-gray instead of like a really dark cool gray, which was what I wanted to do originally, because I feel like it added more color variation with the cool grays, so I really liked it. So then I added the white gel pen to make the pipes look more metallic, and I really liked that. It definitely had the effect I was going for with the metallic pipes. And after that, I moved on to the other thing I knew for sure I wanted to do, which was the windows. And at first, I wanted to have more dimension by showing what was inside the windows and actually getting a sneak peek into what was inside the tugboat. But this is a 7 by 10 paper, and those windows are very small on the 7 by 10 paper, so I realized I probably wasn't going to be able to do that, so I just colored it over with some blues and then added the white gel pen for all of it, kind of having the same effect as the pipes, trying to make it seem really reflective, like most windows are, and just doing some lines slanted on all the windows to get the same effect. And after that, I moved on to the doors, and the doors, looking back, I chose way too dark of a brown, because not only did it hide the fence, it makes it very unclear that there is a doorknob there that I added with the black. And you can't really see it on camera. I mean, it's slightly more noticeable in person, but even then it's not as noticeable as I would have wanted. So I feel like if I do this again, I would use a lighter brown for that. And for the protective barrier, I did yellow, the classic, black and yellow for protective barrier. So I added an orange for the shading. Again, I really liked that. I feel like it definitely gave the point across while also having it seem really nice for the shading, make it seem more cylindrical. And then I added the white gel pen for the fence, because that kind of got hidden by the brown for the door. And then I added the stripes that I had for the bottom, middle, and top of the tugboat. And honestly, these lines were really nice, and they would have stayed nice if I didn't rush it at this point, because you could kind of see with that blue line right there, it's just really stands out that I just went outside the lines. I thankfully fixed it a little bit later, but at this point it was kind of annoying me. So then I added in a quick gradient just on both sides, some darker blue, transitioning to lighter blue, then darker blue again. So after that, it's finally time to shade the tugboat, and I get to cover up the rushy mess I made. And actually, it's not that bad after I did the blue-gray. It actually seems like it was slightly intentional, at least a little bit. So I'm kind of glad that that worked out. And I also had to fix the line art, because it was only after I did half of the coloring for the tugboat that I realized I didn't fully complete the line art. So, oh well. And then just some slight touch-ups, making sure that the back of the tugboat that you can see at the very end is actually covered, and you can actually like see that it's behind the front of the tugboat, if that makes sense. Because I feel like at the beginning it didn't really have the depth that I wanted. And now that I think about it, based on the way I had this angle, I'm not sure if you would have seen the front of the tugboat. Like, surely there would have been some part of the front that would have been noticeable. Or maybe I should have had the back a little bit more upwards. Things to note for next time. But for the water, I actually had some problems that weren't entirely my fault and some that were kind of my fault. Because the blue markers that I was trying to have for base colors both dried out. Because turns out I have very similar ideas when it comes to drawing water. And they mainly require those two colors. So they both dried out. So I mainly had to try to use the shading colors to try to cover up a lot of the streakiness. So thankfully the streakiness isn't the problem that I mainly have with the water. It's the ripples. Because the thing with the ripples is that they're meant to be caused by the tugboat. So you'd think that it'll be coming from the tugboat, but I didn't draw them as if the tugboat was causing them. Like, you'd think there'd be like some crescent moon shapes coming from behind it or in front of it, something to show that the water is being drifted or moved by the tugboat in some way. But I just drew it like it was normal water, which would be okay in most circumstances, but not here. And I only started doing that once I got to the white gel pen and the highlights. But by then it's too little too late, and I already completed most of the water, and I had to move on to the sky. And the sky, I used the exact same colors that I used for the water, so dry marker is going to have dry marker problems. So again, streakiness, but not as bad, because I'm not covering as big of a space. And then I move on to the tree, because the tree, I wanted to have yellow and orange to it too, because the front of the tugboat was the only place where there was yellow, so I wanted there to be more places that had yellow and a piece that was almost entirely blue, because that was where your eye drifted. So I wanted there to be more yellow scattered about, just maybe like one more spot. So I added some red, some orange, and some yellow, and added some white gel pen, and by the end I actually really liked the tree. I feel like I did a pretty good job with that. And I also added some leaves to the ground, try to make it more like autumn, like the leaves are all falling down, and it's kind of about probably late autumn, I'd say, if all the leaves are coming down and it's about to become winter. So then I had to do the tedious task of drawing between all these leaves, so that way I didn't cover up all the yellow leaves and still made it all green grass, and then blended them all out. And then I went to the cloud, and the cloud was actually one of the easiest parts. I just chose one of the lightest blue-grays I had, and then blended it all out with the colorless blender. And with that, this tugboat piece is done. Now, let me know in the comments down below. Do you like this style of video? I mean, it was kind of on accident with the whole accidentally recording 40 minutes of video footage, but I don't know. Let me know. Do you like different speeds? Do you like just one speed? Is the time-lapse better? Is the video better? Let me know in the comments down below. And with that, I hope you all have a magnificent day, and I will see you all later.